Well, I don't know how many years and how many rocks. I finally got one. We finally got some dinner. Hello, it's fresh meat. Cool, eh? Finally, got him with a rock.
All right. Good morning, world. Woke up alive again. Woke up alive again today. I've got some, what do I got? I got a big one today. I got a big email. I got a lot. And I got a coffee. Felt like a coffee this morning, so Sarah made me an instant coffee. Because she put away the coffee maker. Now, many of you who, I don't know, I'm sure there's a lot of people being here that may have heard the name Edgar shared a few times. And I received a great big email from Edgar and his colleague last night. And I've been waiting for some time. Now, I've said it before, I've explained clearly before. One of my faults is, maybe a couple of, maybe it's a fault, maybe it's not. Number one, I trust people first. I do not distrust people to start with. I go with my gut. And as well as that, I normally run without any filters. So I hear it, I share it with you guys, word for word. Now, along the ride with Edgar, nuclear scientist, physicist, whatever, I forget the exact title. These guys are smart individuals. They've been around the world, and it's a tight-knit group of individuals when you get into the nuclear energy ring. It's not like every country has a class, and they're pumping out students who are absolutely familiar with nuclear energy. They don't. So it's a tight-knit global group, and a few of them have been murdered by various governments. Well, Edgar and I share similar characteristics, I believe, where he just doesn't give a shit. He said it flat out. He don't care. And he threw his name right out there and what he wants to share, what he knows, and that it's time. And I often was wondering if I probably maybe should have kept his name private and been a little more sneaky in a way when sharing information on here, because obviously there is going to be some dirty, dark sons of bitches watching this channel, right? And then you're going to have the other dirty, dark sons of bitches who I've related to you as the lens whores, who are actively attempting to keep all of the people suppressed and go in a circle that ends nowhere when it comes to this topic that we have chosen to talk about a lot, which is the Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Sabe people. Right? Then there's them. And they're keeping tabs on this channel. So, combined with the possibilities of each dark group being here, maybe, I'm sure they could possibly go out of their way to alert some characters who could possibly put in a pretty big substantial effort to maintain keeping this information away from all of us. So far, they haven't been successful. I have the information. I'm not the only one. Okay? Now, as Edgar received information from his colleagues, we'll call it colleagues, along the ride, is my receiving emails from them often had lengthy time periods in between contact. So, here's me. I'll get something from them that I share with you guys. I get a little kid. Hey, check this. I got an email from Edgar and the guys. Listen to this. And I read it to you. And Edgar would even pre-warn me and say, this might not make too much sense yet until I get the rest of the transcripts, etc. But this is what I got right now. You send me something, I'll share with you guys. And then later on, I'll think to myself, oh, shit. Maybe I should have sat on that a little bit till I got the rest of it, then it would have made more sense. So then it's like giving the tease to the world, and then you shut them off. And then contact goes for weeks, and then people start calling me a liar. Getting pissed off. Call me a liar. You said you're going to share this. You said you're going to do this. Hey man, I'm doing everything that comes my way in real time with you guys. I'm an open book. And that is what has happened. And then I'll get another little tidbit and then another promise. Then meanwhile, poor Edgar, he's one of our older members of the world. And he believes that he possibly received his bone cancer, I think it is leukemia, whichever one, it's freaking cancer. He may have picked it up when he had that very startling and mind-boggling experience where he saw that being looking at him with basically rage in his eyes, and it started doing what could be described as a jumping jack type of move, and it began to become transparent. He's either from the bottom up. And then Edgar lost time. When he came back, he was literally, was it hundreds of yards? I forget the distance. It was a significant distance away from where he was. But his thermos cup was still left back there. And what had happened to him? His clothes were rearranged on his body. Disoriented, upset, freaked out, made it home. His son and him both watched in amazement as his cell phone started pinging with text messages from various airports around the globe, welcoming as they do. When you fly back home, you'll get that text saying, welcome back, you're in U.S. airspace, whatever, blah, 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 on your phone. And he's getting those messages from various countries around the world. Bam, 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 bam. There's like 32 or 33 or 34 countries or whatever it was, 36. The number was in the 30s. And that email and that experience for a lot of us here was a holy shit moment, right? But it left us all speculating and trying to figure out what happened. Now, Edgar had reached out some time ago with that email, and I didn't find it until sometime later. And then I threw out a message to him through a video, and he got it. I think his son may have got it. Then delivered to him, and then we maintain contact, and then we have our emails are exchanged on Proton email, and all these nuclear scientists have explained that they are 100% confident that the Proton mail system does work and nobody can access it, which is relieving for me. And that's how I've been going back and forth with them since the original contact was through that email. So, where are we now? Do you remember they also shared that report from another scientist who studied these beings near a nuclear site? And they said, what was it, 1,400 meters? And it was 2 a.m. and all this. And these scientists were operating by a half a candle power of light behind a box they were hiding in. And all he did was go like this. And he said that large being went like this. Instantly saw him from 1,400 meters. Remember that report? They gave it to me and I shared it here with you guys. As soon as I got it, I share it with you guys. And again, there's a bit of a gap in between and a lengthy time in between. contact with these people, very kind, very intelligent people, and myself, which leaves all of you hanging, and some of you impatient people blowing a gasket, right? And then it leads to frustration, and then it leads to not trusting and accusing me of lying. Don't worry, I can handle it. It's no big deal. I don't give a shit. But then I start kicking myself again for maybe I possibly shouldn't have shared anything in the beginning and just kept accumulating it until the right time I could share it where it would all make sense to everybody. Because the tidbits and the length of time in between contact, if I put those tidbits together in the order they arrived here, it just wouldn't make sense. I didn't know how to put it together. So I've just been sitting on it. As I've been honestly telling you guys that same thing word for word the whole way. This is what I'm sharing with you guys. So, the last I heard from Edgar was a couple months ago, I think, a month ago. And I didn't even let you guys know I heard from him because it was so vague and it didn't really sound like him in a way, but he just said that, I don't know how to refer to this man because I want to protect everybody. That's why I'm stumbling. I want to protect everyone first off because what they have coming is everything we've always been wanting and waiting for. So I need to go about this the right way and protect. Okay? I don't need to withhold anything from you guys to benefit in any way. I can't. It just doesn't make sense. I'm not here to do that. I consider all of you my best friends in a way. You guys are all my best friend. And you share with your best friend everything. And I share with you guys everything. That's how I have been carrying this channel. That's how I look. When I look through this lens and speak, I'm speaking to my best friends. Who I trust. So, where am I going? I'm getting a little off track. I treat everybody and look at everybody that way as we've been going on this ride when it comes to this topic. So I need to protect my friends and what they have themselves to deliver in their own way. So what I'm getting at is the main source survived his ordeal in Russia and the Ukraine. I can say that, I believe, in a way. And is back home where he is free and has not to look over his shoulder anymore, and also protect his knowledge that he's acquired. He's made it, he's safe, his knowledge is safe, and he is going to put it in book form for the world to learn it all. And what he has learned is absolutely amazing. So, okay, getting back to my last contact with Edgar, which was before last night, which was a month or more ago, and he said that, hey Steve, blah, 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 sorry, I apologize, I didn't get the transcripts to you, so-and-so has decided he's going to put it in book form, and I'm quite sick right now, blah, 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 just a bit of a short email, and I sort of went like this, oh yeah, okay, whatever. Right? Because I'm starting to feel, in a way, a little let down that I may be getting led on, which is not the case. But I understand that it's easy to go there between your ears, right? Thinking you're just getting misled. Whatever bullshit I used. Now, blah, blah, blah. What am I going to do now? Because all the people have shared everything up to this point. Now I'm going to look like a complete dumbass. Oh, well, whatever. And then I've been trying to figure out, I've been slowly getting all those emails from day one to current time together, which I have been doing. Meanwhile, I've got a farm, business. There's teenagers here. Sarah, animals, you can imagine what it's like to think, okay, well now I'm going to set up, a few hours to go get all these emails together. It's not that easy, but I've been doing it. And tried to figure out how to make it all lined out and make sense, and then share with you guys. Well, now I just got the mother of emails last night, and I got the transcripts. So, I hope this little babble makes sense, so that you can be patient enough to sit and understand why I'm going to stumble a little bit as I share some of what I learned with you right now. Okay? So, all of you people out there who possibly suffer from chronic zero patience, well, I feel for you, but you're going to have to try to contain your emotions and not blow a gasket like a snotty-faced 3-year-old here. Try to, all right? Because it's not going to get you anywhere. If your impatience that you cannot control is going to knee-jerk you into typing and blowing a gasket here, trust me, it's 100% a waste of time, okay? So sit there, sit on your thumbs, pay attention, and appreciate what you receive for free here, okay? If you still can't handle it, well, maybe email me later and ask for your refund for your ticket you purchased to be here. Okay? Now, I haven't pre-lined out my delivery this morning. But what I am going to do is I'm going to share with you what I believe is quite important right now for all of you who are curious, are looking, and need knowledge. Okay? So, I have to go through this email again. And as I'm going here with you guys, because I don't have time to do this with the camera off and then come back. I just don't have time right now. So you're going to have to bear with me. How do I do this? All right, I'm going to give you the quick version from my memory. Excuse me, so I don't have to stumble through here. Excuse me. So what is this man, this scientist, was in Russia and Ukraine dealing with a nuclear plant, which is affected by the war. And in the meantime, he managed to go off into the mountains with another scientist whose family goes back in one certain area. Excuse me, who knows how many generations. Okay? I have absolutely more details on the geographic location, the name of the village, the name of the people, their descendants, the whole 9 yards. I've got it, but I'm not going to share it. Although they said, do it this way, I will. Why am I not going to share it? Because I don't want these people to be harmed. Okay? I do not want those people to be harmed. And also, I want the scientist who is sharing, we really need him to get his book out to the public. I also told Edgar, the second he does that, because obviously he's not going to have any kind of a following, to make sure he keeps me in the loop, and I'll promote the living piss out of that book once he gets it done. So, we have to protect the scientist, we have to protect where he got this knowledge from, and we have to protect the people that took him there. Okay? But I assure you, I have it all. Whether you believe me or not, that's up to you. I don't give a shit if you believe me or not, but that's what I've got, and that's what we're going to do. In the past, we've been keeping this scientist's identity secret, and we're still going to today. And in their trusting demeanors, they've shared with me a lot more. In emails they said to share with you, they've shared details. I'm like, whoa, you guys, take it back a few steps. You just shared way too much here that people could sewer you with. And I had to eliminate a bunch of things that they shared. In the email, they said it was okay to share with you guys. Okay? So they're not that smooth on the secret squirrel thing. And I can see that here again in this one, because I feel there's just too much information for a location, for the people, for the community, that it may threaten their existence. These people, like us people, not talking about the Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Save. I'm really babbling, but like I said, I don't do anything here. It's all us sitting at the table, sitting with my friends. We're trying to make sense of this together, and I will in a second. But I'm going to pick and choose what I decide to share from this email right now, because I really need everyone to stay safe and ensure that the fine details are going to make it to us. Okay? So, I'll give you the quick rendition. So this man was taken to a remote village where it was quite obvious there is a very deep connection with these beings. We will call it Sasquatch. Alright, we're going to refer to the beings as Sasquatch, although the name they give them over there is different. It's called the Almasti. Alright? We'll just call it Sasquatch for now. So he was taken to this community in the mountains, remote, and notice all of the surroundings. There was, let's just say, signs of Sasquatch being noted in this community all over the place. Okay? He then started speaking to there's a council there. They started speaking and meeting the elders. The man that brought him to the community was an elder himself. And he got to meet everybody. And they allowed him in their community, and he allowed them to ask him questions. And they also have what is called, it's almost like a guest book in a way, in the community. This guest book goes back hundreds of years, this community. When there is a sighting or an interaction with the Almasti people, the Sasquatch people, same deal. They had to put the entry in the community book of what happened, when, where, what happened. And he went on to say that there is one woman who ran into an Almasti on the trail, heard a thud, a small one had fallen out of a tree and these rocks. This is an entry in the community book. And this community goes back in time. Who knows how many generations, right? Think about it. It's in Russia. So this young one falls out of the tree. Massive gash on his leg. This woman came across it. She was holding onto its arm, yelled to the community to help because she couldn't stop the bleeding. She tore something she had with her into rags to help stop the bleeding. This thing was in huge pain. All of a sudden, there was somebody behind her. She spun around, and now, take note, the community has been specifically told by the Almasti Sasquatch people to never look them in the eye. That was told to the community by these people. Don't look us in the eye. So, she glanced around, keeping her eyes down. Obviously, the quote, obviously it was female, being standing there. The female then went to the young one, picked it up, reached her hand out, took the rags from the woman, and then put her arm out, touched her mouth. The Sasquatch person touched her mouth with her hand and then touched it onto the mouth of the lady that was helping the young one, and then, quote, vanished into thin air in front of her. All right? Don't shoot the messenger. That was shared via my contact here from his eyes, reading the entry in basically it was like a guest book in that community. And that was from a long time ago, that incident. Doesn't it mesh up with a lot of what we've been learning here, though? Anyway, he also said that by the looks of we will call it the guest book, that there is an average of 180 encounters a year currently within just this community. All right? And I believe there was another entry in there he read about, but that's the one I can clearly remember word for word. So, without ripping through this damn email again. Maybe I might not even need to rip this open. I read it again this morning. So, what else? He also went on to say that the cabin that he was in, now we're talking, it was cold, it was minus 30. The cabin he was in had a wood stove, lots of firewood. He was firing the logs in, woke up in the middle of the night, the fire went out, it was kind of cold, got it going again, looked out the window, and he could see bright lights against the timbered mountain. Okay? He could see the bright lights. And then at first he thought there's maybe 1, 2, 3, and the more he looked, then he lost count, and he kept having to start to recount all the way up to 23 plus different lights. Some were moving, some weren't, against the timber. Okay? Maybe I will read that part. I think that's going to be interesting for you to hear. I'm going to have to read some of this. Give me a second when I go down here. It's a long one. I got like 7 or 8 pages, this email, alright? So you can imagine how much is in here. But there's a lot of detail here that will screw people out of sharing, I'm sure, if I was to share it right now. A little premature to share those details. Alright, going on to the people in the village, what they do, how they survive. Translated some of the entries. So his guide translated some of the entries in that book for him. He said they all seemed to be similar in many ways. One said a female saw an Almasti near her house one night. She reported that it went down on her knees and didn't look directly at its eyes. This apparently is a rule given them by the Almastis. Another entry said a young almost fell a tree. Okay, we just covered that one. A few minutes passed. Behind her. Be patient, you guys. I'm moving along here. This is very well worth the awkwardness and the not so smooth reading this morning. The lady also reported that the Almasti had left a gift on her door. It was a bow of forest twine with a blue pebble in the center. Bracket. A very big honor in the tribe. End bracket. In bed by 10:30 p.m. p.m. I woke around 4 a.m. The fire had burned down a bit and it was pretty cold. I shoved a few logs in the stove and then back to bed. Then I saw through the single window a bunch of very clear, very bright lights, seeming to come from the side of a mountain a few kilometers away. The fact is, it wasn't a few lights. I tried counting and stopped and restarted after getting to 20 odd. Some of the lights were moving, others looked like the high power lights you would see at our plants. Very bright, illuminating a large area of the compounds and parking places. I must have watched the show for 2 hours. Never seen anything like it before. The moving ones would change size, color, and vanish. The others would take their place. Some going from ultra bright to almost vanishing, then back to bright, and some changing to the colors of the rainbow. Not sure of the time, but all the activity stopped suddenly, as if somebody flicked a switch. The following night, with my new friend, I'll leave out the name, he agreed to come with me and see if we could get up close for the lights and activity on the side of the mountain. Bracket. I'll spare you the story of getting permission from the Elder Council, as it happens. My contact would say he would take responsibility for me, and after a vote they agreed. It seems the simple people are very accepting of the Bigfoot Almasti people, but not so with the aliens. They have lost many of their people over the past 200 plus years and believe the aliens are wholly responsible for their losses. They wouldn't talk to me about this, but again, they insist that the Almasti themselves are servants of the alien peoples, which is pretty obvious to anyone who has researched the Bigfoot people in any depth. Alright, I'm going to stop there for 1 second. Quick note. Basically, across the board with all of what I consider for me, my most solid, educated contacts, all of them have shared with me that the threat, the number one, the most common threat for people missing is from up there. And that's what I've received from them. It's up there. And I have been warned numerous times. Always pack your gun, always bring your locating thing. But more importantly, when you feel nervous and feel something's really off, to look up. Look up. That's what I've been told numerous times. Alright? So, for me to read this about the people going missing from, quote, the aliens, it meshes up with my ride of knowledge so far. Alright? Now, anyway, Blank and myself took off towards the lights, which had returned in force by around 10 p.m. Surprisingly, the snow was very light, shallow, and well-used track made life easier than I thought. I've given you some tasters, Ed, of my experiences, but I mentioned to you before I went to the Ukraine. I have a book to write, and as much as you respect Steve, I really need to keep much of my newfound knowledge to myself at this time. I hope that doesn't offend you or Steve. Ed, what I discovered over the ensuing 9 hours was staggering. In brief, because I'll never get down my observations, contact communications with both alien and Almasti people in less than a few hundred pages. So, briefly for info. The individual sources of light I observed the night before encompassed air/space craft of varying sizes, and a quite unbelievable selection of portals, representing entry/exit points of terrestrial, extraterrestrial, interterrestrial, and even, best description, interdimensional and extra-dimensional portals. I'm pretty certain too, if I see any lights in the sky by day or night in the future, I will be able to differentiate between a craft and a possible portal. Now take note, this man, alright, I'll save that for later, but he has seen a being emerge from a portal in the past, okay, in North America. I learned that some spacecraft are sentient beings. Let me repeat that. Some of what we would call UFOs or spacecraft are living entities. Let that sink in. I have a gut feeling when the so-called tic-tac things the Navy Air Force chased in those videos they released, I'm sure a few pilots had mentioned those kinds of feelings about those craft. I seem to recall one pilot say, quote, "They knew what we were thinking before we did," end quote. Regarding our creatures, the Bigfoot / Sasquatch / Almasti, I stood within 2 to 3 feet of one. I had a conversation with it. And not once did I open my mouth to speak. And I promise you, I was not crazy or hallucinating. I did have, in Alberta, Canada, I think I told you in Lanzarote, I thought I had a quick mental / telepathy imprint put in my head. This time, I was within touching distance of one, and I had a complete exchange of ideas and a two-way question / answer session. Not a single word of speech passed between us, and although he was so close to me, I never saw him at all. I did, however, touch his arm once and his thigh once. I was able to gauge the distance between us by the condensation of his breath. One thing that I discovered, and was previously a huge gap in my knowledge about these people, I got a solid answer to, one that makes you say to yourself, why didn't I think of that before? Another thing to mention in passing, it seems they simply call themselves the people. Not forest people, just the people. So, some things I'll share with you. The Bigfoot wears no clothes, yet you, me, and many others have encountered them at all times of the day, night, and seasons of the year. We've seen them in minus 40 degrees of frost and up to and over 40 degrees Celsius of heat. They still, regardless, have no need for any kind of apparel or warm clothing. Why? Their physical advancement over us mere mortals is phenomenal. We agree on that, right? So, how do they survive in both polar and temperate conditions? Simply, they can control their body's thermal action, generating heat when needed or cold. Humans don't have that thermal ability whatsoever. He took my right hand and placed it on what he said was his forearm. It felt like a hairy log and as hard as rock. He sent his temperature down to minus 35 Celsius and instantly back to 35 Celsius. I felt his arm, A, freeze, then B, boil. It got so instantly hot I was forced to snatch my arm back as if boiling water had been poured on me. He then took both my hands, placed one on his thigh, the other on his arm. He sent his thigh to minus 40 degrees Celsius below my bracket. My hand stuck to his leg, leaving me with an ice burn, end bracket, and his arm to 50 degrees Celsius, making me snatch my hand back. How on God's earth can you even begin to describe that capability? Answered a huge question for me, though. So, someone can tell Mr. Moneymaker Machine they do not make a nest to sleep in for warmth. I did get an answer to why they build structures, but it is not for shelter. Bracket. My feelings are it is as simple as being an animal trap, end bracket. For sure, every one I've come across has had animal scat in them. And deer would obviously use them. Okay, that's just a theory, you guys, alright? And he's a non-hunter. And it's a theory, so don't etch that in stone that they're animal traps, okay? It's just a theory. I had so much I needed to ask, obviously. And before I even thought about that, he pushed into my head, quote, I have answered all your questions, Professor. You will find them when you return, end quote. How did he know what to call me? Not a clue at first, but if they are capable of mind speak or mental telepathy, then I guess it's pretty obvious. My contact, when I say my contact, I'm meaning his Russian friend. I'm not going to use any names. My contact also heard both sides of our one more time, also heard both sides of our conversation too, but in Russian, not English. Work that one out. The day after I got back to the plant in the Ukraine, I found the Bigfoot's answer. I found a grammatically readable file. Okay, I'm not even going to say where he found it, alright? Alright, let's just say that. He found a file with all of the questions, quote, because this is a quote, he found a file with all of the questions a scientist would have asked these people. He found this put somewhere for him to discover with all of the answers on it. What? Hence the future book that he's going to put together and deliver to all of you. Alright? And the extreme importance why we need to help protect these people. Okay? So I'll leave that at that for that part of it. Okay, here's some of the questions. I am gobsmacked. He answered almost every question any scientist would have wanted answers to. Like, I must have asked, how long his people have been on Earth for? His answer, quote, same as you humans, of course. We have coexisted in varying life forms and differing life formats for almost 100 million years, and over many cultures. If there's any truth to that, then the first men who walked the earth did it along dinosaurs. I also must have asked, was there a person called Jesus, the Christ, the Messiah, and did he truly exist? The answer, quote, of course. He was the Son of the living God, the greatest man in a human body ever to have walked the earth, end quote. Where have I heard that before? That invoking the name of Jesus Christ will be respected by a Bigfoot? Takes their breath away. Remember, this is an email between him and Edgar, which was green light to share with me. So there's 3 of us, alright? Now there's all you. Altogether, I spent more than 4 hours with this person, and he came out with some stunning things. I found it hard to move past the claim, though. We have had human habitation and civilizations for 100 million years. My contact mentioned later when I talked some archaeology with him, with me trying to work out stuff like the pyramids and the Sumerians, for instance, and he suggested that they were built by a previous civilization not 4,000 years ago, but a few million years ago. Alright, on that note, I think it's Graham Hancock or his partner. Somebody. I've heard over the past that the pyramids are actually way, way, way older than what the school books have tended to share with us. Alright? So that meshes up with a lot of what I've been looking into as well. Those pyramids are frickin' old. A few other things I can share with you, again, nothing short of mind-blowing, is that the most previous civilization, we humans and the Bigfoot people, shared an amicable existence together. Of course, the basis of Sumerian culture says that quite categorically, in the legend of the Epic of Gilgamesh and his close friendship with Enkidu, clearly described as what we recognize as a Bigfoot today. This is about as far as I can go for now. At 90% of what I heard and saw with my own eyes, I'd have laughed at just a year ago. I thought I learned a hell of a lot over the past few years, but despite the fact I'd swear in a stack of Bibles as to what I've learned, much of it written down naturally, I simply can't do. So, it's so far beyond what people, A, actually understand, and B, are prepared to understand, is still a good way off. Just take the case of the Bigfoot/Sasquatch. We know what we know, yet some 50% of Americans think it's a hoax. And whilst we know how much our government does know, there is still a denial of its very existence. All right, so that's basically the end of... That's what I'll share from that email between the two scientists, which was copied, word for word, shared with me, with an additional email attached to it directly at me. All right? There you go. Take from it what you will, or leave it. There's a lot in there in that what could be considered a short excerpt. There's a lot in there that somewhat meshes up with a lot of the information that's been shared here, right? If you've been taking notes, see, what I do is I take from each email what I need, or I leave the rest, or whatever. But those significant hints of knowledge that come my way via the people, I take tidbits, pin them here, pin it there, pin it there, pin it there, pin it there, and the ones that I'm pinning are all starting to mesh up and make sense and back up other pins that I got up here, and here are slowly beginning to get backed up as factual with a pattern of keep coming up in repetitive form eventually over a course of time, because this is a very slow process. But you got to admit, it's slow here, but it's way freaking faster than anywhere we've been yet, right? And as well as if you follow this ride that we share together here, and you should hopefully understand me better when you see the odd day when I share with you my absolute frustration and what could be called anger at those previous so-called big names in the Bigfoot world, and how they have blatantly played a significant role in misleading every one of you and keeping you intentionally going in a circle that leads to nowhere. If you've been following this ride clearly, staying focused, and taking in the knowledge, the first-hand accounts, and then you turn around and go watch that shit show that's going on with those idiots, the blatant example of misleading stands out like a frickin' sore thumb in a bowling ball, right? And that is why, for some of you that may question my sanity at the times or my emotions, that's why I've stated in the past, I have absolutely zero respect for any and all of the players who have intentionally kept all of us, you, going in that circle. That includes every single reality TV show person, character, face, even someone with the title of a doctor in front of his name on those TV shows. I have absolute no respect for. Period. Never will. All right, I'll keep my mouth shut. But as we go, learning all these true facts from these people, these true human beings, members of our society, yeah, it's just so embarrassing, and it makes me very frustrated at the length of time that they have been able to keep us all suppressed and keep the true facts hidden from us all. But not anymore, right? So what I'm getting at is, compared to what has been going on with this topic since the 50s, when it was first coming to be popular topic amongst the community, which it could not be. It eventually had to come out, right? The truth eventually comes out no matter what, with everything. How many years has that ride been going on until now? This new ride has started with truth, right? And true knowledge gathering and sharing. So, I hope I'm making sense right now. Like I said before, my brain and my mouth don't mesh up smoothly at times, and this might be one of those times. But our ride here, no matter how much our impatient members disagree, our ride of knowledge gathering here is in lightning warp speed compared to what has been delivered in the past since the 1950s. You gotta admit, you gotta agree that's fact. So, it may seem like this is taking a long time. A lot of people get frustrated, thinking the emails are repetitive. Right? I'm over it with this channel. Oh my God, there's some t-shirts being sold. You sons of bitches, I'm out of here. You know, whatever. I don't know why I mentioned that. I guess I'm just using examples of impatience and people blowing a gasket. When if you would really get your head unwedged from your butt cheeks, you would see that the knowledge gathering, sharing on this channel since we began to start talking about this openly is light warp speed compared to what's been available previous. That's what I'm trying to say. There you go. My brain and lips finally meshed up. So, obviously, you guys do not have my full interactions with these outstanding human beings, but I've got it all. I've got it all. Hopefully you take from what you will or leave it. Hopefully you've listened to every one of my shares when it comes to my knowledge I've acquired from these contacts. And I will continue to put all of my interactions with these scientists, I will put together smoothly from point A to current. And I am going to be sure that I filter out enough of that information, only the information that would lead to possibly this man, these people, possibly lead them to being prevented from sharing what they know with all of you in the near future. So I have to play my role in protecting that part of it when it comes to my delivery with all you, what I know up to date. Okay? Again, my brain and my lips. I hope it's meshing up and making sense. I will continue to share every single voice, no matter what. And I will also continue to organize all of my information I've received from these people, put it in a point A to point Z form, understandable, smooth, and I'll share it with all you guys. And I'm only going to leave out the parts where it could possibly sewer the sources. That's it. Not the facts, but the sources. Okay? So we're not going to be ripped off by any information when it comes to these people, meaning what we previously have been known as Bigfoot or Sasquatch, but the people. I will make sure that I share everything I know and learn about them with you. I'm just going to leave out the parts about the sources so we don't screw them out of the great big one that's going to be shared from them. Okay? Now hopefully this potential future author keeps his information safe and possibly accessible if something like what could be considered an act of God, something happens to this man where he is not with us anymore. Yet hopefully he makes sure that his knowledge will be accessible to somebody like me or somebody else so that it can still be shared with all of you if something tragic may possibly happen, right? There you go. So, now, what can we remind you of? Now, these sources have seen these, I'm going to call them the people. They have seen the people looking at them through the security monitors, video cameras on the outside of nuclear sites around the globe numerous times. Some of these scientists have seen these beings over 50 frickin' times. Right? Edgar went on to share with me in the email that he feels that this contact who shared this with us today, he feels that he is possibly the #1 authority in the world when it comes to knowledge of these people. And I think I'm ready to accept that as fact myself, too. And now remember, these scientists, these are your uber geeks, right? These are your uber frickin' geeks. They have their own global community. They don't do what we mere mortals do with their time on Earth. These guys their brains are probably firing like, right? They don't have time. They don't sit on the internet, cruise around, look at the mindless bullshit that a lot of us do. Excuse me. Edgar even went on to say that, I went out of my way and actually looked into that Dave Politis man and his missing 411. He seems like a fairly credible dude, right? He didn't even know who Dave was, or that channel. They don't surf the internet. And back in the beginning when Edgar found me, contacted me, we've created a relationship, and then he alerted his scientific colleagues, and they looked into this channel and me, and they said, quote, Edgar, you're right. I'll never forget this statement they said a couple of years ago. Edgar, you're right. Steve is not a researcher, he's a searcher. And he also said, and you're right, it's time that we shared with the world what we know. Screw the man, meaning the governments. These guys are very anti-government, big time. Like when I share Edgar's email he shared with me last night, holy cow. It's a good one. He goes on a few tangents of anti-government in that email. So, I hope this isn't too much of a pain in the ass, this video today, you guys, but it is what it is. So, Edgar, what's happened to Edgar and why the big long pause and why the confusing email the last time in contact was he suffered a stroke. Fuck. I'll tell you about it, man. He is a warrior, though, right? Edgar's one tough son of a bitch. He's been dealing with all this shit with his cancer. He was in a hospital for frickin' weeks. A few times. And he's still hanging in there with us, right? Still hanging in there. And then he goes and has a frickin' stroke. And half of his face went numb and half of his body, the whole 9 yards. And he fought right back and he's still fighting today. And he is hoping to fly to Canada. Because he is originally from the UK. But him and his wife both lived in Canada for quite some time. And coincidentally, he lived very, very close to where I lived years ago on Vancouver Island. So they're hoping to return here. And I sent him the invitation last night that I hope that when he does get here that I can take him and his wife out on the ocean, excuse me, out onto the ocean on my boat. Whether to catch a fish or just hang out and see the sights and bullshit. And maybe even make a video. So I'm waiting the reply for that. I hope that goes down. And then in the meantime, maybe, possibly, I've ran this by them before, but maybe possibly they will be warm to the offer of me to fly to Europe to them. And maybe I'll fly out there and meet up with him and the other contacts and maybe we can hang out for a little bit and talk. Wouldn't that be freaking interesting, right? So there you go. There you go. There's my update. You guys know what I know. Alright? You guys know what I know. And if anybody complains that I didn't share enough, well, this is what I got. This is what I got. And that is why it takes so long. And also, yeah, Edgar explained why his last email was so confusing and such time ago is because his brain wasn't even firing correctly after having that stroke and half of his frickin' mind and head and body's going for a shit from having a frickin' stroke. And then he went and tried to email me. So there you go. Patience, right? You gotta have patience, especially when it comes to this ride. This is possibly the ride of all time. And you gotta have patience. And you gotta take it when you can get it. Then sit on your frickin' thumbs and be a patient, good kid in the back of the classroom and don't snivel. And stick it out. And eventually it comes, right? There you go. How interesting is that? How frickin' interesting is that? Now, let's get to the questions of why. My questions. Why are we being lied to? Now, if your brain's firing fairly clearly, it's not too hard to figure out why the dirty sons of bitches who are controlling all of us do not, at all costs, want to acknowledge the existence of these people. Right? So from what we shared in this email today, ask yourself, it's like a little essay in the classroom. Why, from what you have heard today, possibly you can call it from what you've learned today. Obviously you can't verify it, so it's up to you. Take from what you will leave it. But if you were in a classroom today learning. Now, let's go back to what we learned today, what was shared. Now, why do you think the people in control of the human society, civilization today, why do you think they don't want us to know about these people at all costs? Deny, deny, deny. Why? Do you think there might be some quality, some knowledge there that if we were aware of them or were taught to have them or were taught that we do have those capabilities, let's just say, what kind of control do you think those douchebags would have over us then? Oh, I don't need your power. You can take your hydro bill and ram it up your ass. That's one thing. That's pretty big. Right? although I do love firing up the muscle car and burning that petrol, I don't really need your gasoline anymore. At all. Right? Oh, and I don't have to give you any money anymore either, because if I don't, you can't find me. I might be standing right next to you. Right? Just imagine that right off the bat. Just imagine that right off the bat. If we had those capabilities, which we don't, could we ever? I don't know. I haven't a clue. I don't know. I'm still learning too, right? How about our history? How about our history? If this is actual correct information, which I am leaning over here. If there's I don't take it as fact I absolutely take it as fact. My needle's right about here right now for me. I know obviously our history's been manipulated and trashed and shit on, and we've been spoon-fed dog shit since the first time we left our mom's arms and got dropped off at that school system. It's absolutely obvious to me, even when I was in that system, that it was bullshit. For the most part. Not all of it. I know. Take it easy, Karen. I'm kidding. So, our true history has been rewritten. 100% for certain. Right? We've been put into a system since we were children, without a doubt, to fall in line. For sure. There's been a lot of information withheld from us, intentionally, without a doubt. Right? They'll come up with the whys. Why? Well, this email, I'm certain this email is not the ultimate answer to why, but it's definitely a pretty big, strong one. Of a portion of why we're being lied to. Right? So, I wonder, one question I do have right away I found was, after reading this email, was how old is one of these individual people? How old are they? I wonder. I wonder how old they are. I wonder how long they've been watching our shit show go on and observing us and just shaking their head. And I wonder if they ever think about intervening in any way. Or are they like us when we watch Simple Wildlife, like I don't know. When we're going down the road and there's a bear taking down a calf moose. People want to save the calf. And other people say, well, no, you can't do anything. You just got to let nature take its course. Is that how they look at us? Is it them or these other entities that have intentionally prevented nuclear explosions? Because they watch our shit show carry on, but do they actually get to that one point where they go, no, we can't let them do that because that'll actually affect us when it comes to nuclear explosions? I wonder, maybe, possibly. But they let it go down in Hiroshima, didn't they? Why would they do that? Maybe because the humans needed a lesson. Maybe. Possibly. Did we learn from it? We did for a little while, didn't we? We did for a little while. Apparently right now the douchebags in control, they didn't learn much. Anyway, I'm babbling. I could babble forever after reading this one because my mind is really ripping. How about yours? Now, I'm going to stop on that topic right now. We'll cut that one short now and take from what you will, leave it. But please, at least take some pin-up notes from this email, put them on your wall, and see how they mesh up with your ride. See how they mesh up with other information that's been shared with us along this ride, all right? And hopefully try to make sense of it yourself. Don't let anyone shove anything down your throat, okay? Don't be pressured into accepting something as fact when you're not certain. Go with your gut, get in tune with yourself, go with your intuition, and think for yourself. Don't let anyone tell you shit, okay? Including me. I always encourage people to take from it what you will or leave it. It's up to you. It's now up to you. Okay? You're not sitting in a classroom being forced to repeat after me and I'm going to quiz you on it, and if you fail, you fail. You're going to fail if you don't remember what I'm telling you. Right? It's tough. It's going to be tough for a lot of people to bash through that original programming, right? We have been raised to listen to what I got to tell you, repeat after me on that piece of paper, and if you don't repeat after me accurately, you fail. What a crock of shit that one is. I'm really babbling today. Take from what you will or leave it, but please look into it, and please mesh up all of the information here on your little pinup board. Whatever you're doing, take your notes and see what notes are meshing up to make that pattern, and then go with your gut. There you go. Now, before I get out of here, we're going to share more voices. Okay, now I've received what I consider a very important email from a subscriber, and they really put a big effort in trying to get a hold of me this email. I believe this is a screenshot from a message on social media somewhere. I came across it by absolute fluke, because I don't normally look at messages on social media. There's thousands of them. I don't have the time. Like, how do I do it? But I somehow came across this there, and then came across the same in an email in my inbox to us here with photos. Now listen to this. Hi there. I know we don't know each other, but yesterday I unfortunately discovered my father, and he had passed away. God bless his soul. He was the kindest and most loving person you could imagine. He often mentioned you and your stories. I was going through his email and noticed he had shared this photo he had painted with you. I was going through his email and noticed he had shared this photo he had painted with you, and feel like I should keep trying to share it in his memory to spread his love via his painting with the people he admired the most. I don't expect you to share the photo on social media, but just to have you acknowledge my dad would mean a great deal. I hope you keep up the work, and you can guarantee I will be watching back on your videos, remembering how much Dad enjoyed watching / listening to you. I've attached a picture of my dad, John Hooper. He was 55 years old with an unexpected death. That's the end of the message. And he did include a photograph of the man and a painting he'd made to share with us, and I'll share it here now. So, John Hooper, I'm sure you are still here with us, without a doubt. And I'm glad that I received the email from your son. I hope you're resting in peace, and I hope that what do you say? I'm glad I received this. I'm glad I saw it, and it has been shared. And I'll have to go back and possibly look into the notes, and I'll search his name and see what he shared with us in the past. Maybe I'll bring it up and share it again. And there you go. Huge respect. I'm sorry for your loss to the original emailer, but he's still here with us. You're going to see him again. It's not over. It's not over when we pass from this lifetime here, or physical. It's not over. So I'm sure he's here right now. And there you go. Shared. And thank you so much for sending that in to us. All right. So now I'm gonna share one more. Now this email, because I haven't been I rarely ever go on the Proton email, only because I only used it to talk to a couple of people in the past, and then obviously time goes on and you lose that connection in a way, because there's just so much going on. There's so many emails over here on the other two inboxes, or three I've got. And then I found one. So as a man who's in contact with me in the past, another person that I have to protect, requested I protect. He is a senior member of our society. Credentials coming out of his frickin' yin yang. Sorry, my language is a little off sometimes, right? So this man is right up there with Edgar, maybe even potentially, more than likely, I would say his knowledge and credentials surpass Edgar's. And what he shared with me in the past, he shared in confidence and not to share with you. And it's been a lot. And he sent me an email. I got an email from him, and I'm going to share it here with you guys. Yes, this is, there's nothing in here that needs to be protected. Now listen to this, alright? I'm going to close and end with this email shared by this man. Now listen to this. Hi Steve, a big howdy. Things are really getting out of hand out there, aren't they? I know you are beyond busy, but I just wanted to pass along an observation related to your recent episode, quote, What if this was happening? End quote. You figured it out, Steve. That is what is happening. Exactly what is happening. I'm just going to put it out there. I would suggest that if you substitute one word in your explanation, the whole thing makes perfect sense. It is not so much crazy as it is just plain evil. Change the word alien, end quote, quote alien, end quote, and its crew into Satan and his crew. Don't let the words throw you off. They are just words. Go for the truth underneath. Now, quick reminder, he's referring to when I said, let's just imagine one day if there's an alien somewhere and they came down here to conquer us. Do you remember I said this? And I said, imagine if they're down here screwing us over, but keeping their identity secret, and they're reporting back to their home planet. Their home planet says, hey, how are you making out down there on Earth? Need a hand? No, we got this. This is so easy, we got this. Are you sure? Should we not just send a bunch of people down there and invade Earth and annihilate these humans? No, we totally got this. We got them fighting amongst each other. All we do is throw down the most outrageous topic and they start fighting with each other. Now they're killing each other off. We're right on course. Remember when I said that? That's what he's referring to. Okay? Now, so hopefully that makes sense to what he just said. Maybe I should read that again after giving that. All right, how about if I do that? He said, you figured it out, Steve. That is what is happening. Exactly what's happening. I'm just going to put it out there. I would suggest that if you substitute one word in your explanation, the whole thing makes perfect sense. It's not so much crazy as it is just plain evil. Change the word, quote, alien, end quote, and its crew into, quote, Satan, end quote, and his crew. Don't let the words throw you off. They're just words. Go for the truth underneath. In one of your email exchanges some time ago, I suggested that at the end of the day, when you remove all the man-made society camouflage, the BS, what's left is good and evil, and that's it. Nothing else. And each is not just an idea. They are realities. Evil is not just the absence of good. It is the personification of evil itself. I said that Satan and his crew are not allowed to outright destroy mankind, which he hates beyond imagination, but he is allowed to influence mankind into adopting a self-destructive attitude. However, we freely get to choose our own trajectory. It's like one big psychological operation, a psyop, conducted in one big multi-generational conflict. We are at war. We have been forever. It is first and foremost a spiritual war that is spilled over into our physical realm. Some describe humans as spiritual beings inhabiting physical bodies. We are therefore born into the battle, kind of like paratroopers dropped into a hot zone, right smack dab into the middle of one big firefight. You move or you lose. You can't just stand there or you'll be a target. I say if you are a target, at least be a moving target. Might have half a chance. So here we are, Steve. Some of us can see what is going on all around us and realize that from the quote good quote end quote perspective, it is incomprehensible. It's totally crazy. It's like playing Russian roulette with nukes. From the evil standpoint, it makes perfect sense. Is not crazy, but is rather a well thought out and orchestrated human annihilation campaign. I think you meant human annihilation. Yeah, annihilation campaign. The anti-creation campaign. And those participating in this tragedy are themselves just pawns for the evil. They are unknowingly being duped and used. What can we do about it? You said you wished you could, but didn't know what. Well, Steve, I believe that you have what it takes to openly defy the evil, to become a champion of the good, to use your position to encourage people to just stop for a moment, and to become aware of who they are, to ask themselves if they are part of the problem that they complain about, or can they be part of the solution by empowering the good in each of us, as hidden as they may seem at times. We need to be aware of what we do and say, to understand that either it is for the good or for the evil, that there are no fences in life. It's past time for all of us to get off our respective fences to realize that just like the paratrooper dropped into the hot zone, you either fight for your life or you die. The time to look for fences is over. There are no compromises between life and death, individually or as a species. I choose life. Metaphorically speaking, I may not be able to solve world hunger, but I can make a sandwich for someone. I can only do what I can do in the here and now. But if I take up the challenge courageously and move forward, I can have a positive impact. Now multiply that effort by a few billion inhabitants of planet Earth. Think maybe that might make a difference? I do. Steve, we all need to stop this induced insanity. We need to say no, no more. I will no longer be a part of this. We're all going down on the battlefield at some point. Personally, I would rather go out standing on my own 2 feet fighting for the good. I urge you to use your How to Hunt community platform to help people to become aware of the truth of what is going on, to turn the complaining into action, to get off the fences and take a stand, to, quote, just say no, end quote. No more, I've had enough. That is not a call to violent rebellion. Rather, it is a call to a revelation of knowing the truth and acting on it. If we just ask ourselves if what we're about to say or do is for good or for evil, and choose the good. That may have more influence on the outcome of this war than we could imagine. Make the sandwich. Sorry this got a little longer than expected, but just had to comment on your astute observations in that episode. It was so on target. I hope you, Sarah, and your crew are well. Take care and be well and stay safe out there and stay close to nature. Best regards. Blank will leave your name out as a request in your first contact with me, and I absolutely appreciate that email. And believe me, this man is so intelligent, it's absolutely silly. We could learn a lot from him. I have. And that totally makes sense, does it not? Right? It's time to get off the fence. A lot of people say they can't do much. Yes, you can. Right? Look at me. I'm just some dumbass sitting in this homemade box on a small island off the west coast of Canada. And look at the reach we've got going out. Look at the knowledge we've accumulated here by giving the power back to the people, concentrating on the good and the honest, and shunning the evil, right? Seeing the misleading sons of bitches and exposing them for who they are, what they're doing, and to go against it and quit. Not to jump on that train. Don't jump on that ride. Right? Kick the dark to the curb. Focus on the bright light. Protect the children. Talk out loud. Right? Talk out loud. Don't just read it on the internet, look at it, hit the like button, and keep it to yourself. Share it with your neighbor, your sons, your daughters, your mom, your dad, your coworkers, right? Share the truth. And focus on the good, focus on the bright light. And there's not much more I can say after reading that one, right? That's the one that we needed to hear. That's the one the whole world needs to hear, that email right there. So, maybe this will be possibly the first time I say this and mean it since I've started this channel. This is going to be the first time I say this and I mean it. Share this video. Alright? Even if you can, download, edit out the Sasquatch, the people part, and maybe even you could just take this email, part of this video, and share the shit out of it. Share the living shit out of this email from this intelligent, caring man, senior member of our society, and share the living piss out of this email, these words, with as many people as you can. There you go. That's the end of my video submission of the voices of the people to the people. That's the end of that one for today. What do you say? My brain's just ripping right now. My brain's ripping. Alright. Share my story at howtohunt.com. That's where you get your knowledge shared word for word. From the people to the people. Alright? Protect the children. Don't forget, protect the children. All right, at all costs, protect the children. Buck against the system, focus on the bright light, protect the children. I gotta stop talking. I'm not gonna shut up today. See you tomorrow.